Yeah. Bills Mafia.
0. Now, if you don't know by the title, this is our AFC East draft preview show. So we're going to be talking with a few different guests. Like I said, first here, Tyson Rauch. Let's talk Jets. Tyson, thank you for being here. I know you got a tight schedule. How's the offseason going for you?
Oh, it's quiet, man. The Jets don't do anything. I mean, this is, nothing going on. Just a very quiet offseason. No change. It's just boring, man.
Well, we'll start with the least boring part of it, which is the Sam Darnold trade. We were talking a little bit before the show with everything going on with Deshaun Watson. He's not tradable now, so Sam Darnold was the next quarterback domino to drop. Zach the Koala says, "What's up, Tyson?"
We have a unique following on our show.
It looks like the fake names they give you at the top of a Google Sheets thing: anonymous koala, anonymous zebra, all those.
Yep.
So the Sam Darnold trade. How are you happy with what happened there? Did you expect it to happen? Is maybe the bigger question.
I did expect it to happen. I think the Jets, the fan base was divided. Some people wanted to trade back and keep Sam and build around him. The other part of the fan base was done with him, wanted a true reset, new coach, new coordinator, new offense, new quarterback. And that's where I fell. And so I'm glad that I'm not glad Sam's gone. I wish him the best. I hope he does well. I think a change of scenery was best for the Jets and for him. Mm-hmm. The value surprised me, to be honest with you, because I thought that the market was diminishing. And I'm like, oh, man, like all these guys are signing quarterbacks, Bears, Washington, everybody else. I'm like, what are we going to get, if anything? And then, like, this year's a 6th round pick, whatever. A 2nd and a 4th next year, I'm cool with that. Like, I'm happy. It's a good spot for him. He's in the NFC. Good. Go back to Robbie Anderson. And then you have the number 2 pick, and you get in theory, your guy, other than Trevor Lawrence. So the Jets, they have their pick of the rest, and they can get their guy and start over. It's a true reset, man. And this team needs that at this point. Because I think the one thing that people kind of fail to realize is if you bring Sam back and he plays one bad game, the what ifs, the could has, the should has, it's going to be a complete nightmare. And I think the Jets organization realized that. And they're like, you know what? Why give a new coach that? Why inherit all that problem? Just start over, man.
Yeah. And, you talk about, now they get the chance to get their guy, basically. Yep. Who is their guy? Who is the guy that they should be targeting?
I don't think it's a secret at this point. It looks like it's all Zach Wilson.
Yeah, he was in here before the show started. So I'll
tell you, our show's got a unique bunch of guys.
He's ready.
Yeah.
So, he's ready. I will say the Bills probably gave the Jets a little boost in their trade value. Here's why. Carolina was after Mitch Trubisky. And I think that checked off a box for a team that Mitch Trubisky could have gone to and started at and potentially changed the market a little bit for Sam Darnold. So that's something to be noted, Ty, that I think they helped out the market there. I mean, Carolina started to get a little nervous. I mean, they needed to make a move. They didn't think they had one. And they checked in on Deshaun Watson, and I think they went to their next best option was they didn't get the free agent quarterback they were looking for, maybe their top trade target. Sam Darnold's there, and the Jets said, "You're going to pay us."
Well, I think the Watson, the whole thing's playing out right now, probably scare a lot of teams off. And that was probably a guy that everybody's focusing on. Like, all right, listen, the story came out. How's it going to play out? We can wait. And now you say, you know what? This is not. We can't deal with this. We need to go a different direction. Because, like I was telling before, I was like, man, like I was starting to get really nervous, man. I'm like, wow, this market is really diminishing. The Broncos were showing some interest. The 49ers weren't going to do it. They just traded up. So I'm like, what are you going to get? So Sam Darnold's ghost. Yeah. So it's interesting, man. The Bills helped us too. We signed a couple of your players too. So maybe some of your former players will help us too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because, obviously everybody's aware of the Sam Darnold situation. Now that that's over, everyone's aware of the number 2 pick. But what else is something that, maybe the people in the AFC East should know that the Jets have done? Like valuable additions, subtractions. You're shaking your head. So I think it's going to be the latter, right?
Yeah, I think at this point we're having faith in a new coaching staff that's actually competent. That's the first upgrade you're going to make because Adam Gase's staff was a complete joke on and off the field. So you figure Rob Saleh is a reputable guy on defense, supposed to be a motivating guy, inspiring guy, kind of disciplinarian. Then you had Mike LaFleur's offense, which is supposed to be quarterback friendly. So maybe our offense will come back to the NFL instead of being some antiquated garbage that we saw. So that's I think is what our hope is. In terms of our free agency moves, they had a couple splashes. I think they upgraded the wide receiver position, which they had to do desperately. You get Corey Davis, you get Keelan Cole. You get a pass rusher in theory, and Carl Lawson. Hopefully, he can do that. The defensive line is strong, but the problem that I think most Jet fans have is our biggest issue coming into free agency was the offensive line, and they didn't do anything about it. They added 2 like journeyman guys that you can't really expect anything from. And now it seems like they're going to be reliant on the draft to address their holes, which could be great if you land 2 guys. But if you're going to have a rookie quarterback, you want to have a stout line. And you had a lot of money to spend in free agency, and they didn't address it. It was just, it's a weird approach. I know the whole build through the draft mantra, but
where'd the money go?
Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, and they still have like $25 million. I mean, and so what most fans assume, like they assume they're going to cut like Greg Van Roten and Alex Lewis, and you can get another $15 million, $20 million of cap space by cutting players that we thought weren't very good, but they're keeping them. So right now it's like, okay, you're keeping the guys we thought weren't very good and not spending money on guys that we thought were good. So your offensive line is still the biggest concern, especially when we just watched the Jets ruin Sam Darnold for the last 3 years. So if you want to bring in Zach Wilson, why not give him the best possible line you can in front of him? So, I mean, there's still moves to be made. There's still guys out there, but I think it's going to be all in the draft now, which is good in theory if you draft well, but if you don't draft well, an enormous risk.
Yeah, and what's your faith in Joe Douglas then? Because from the outsider's perspective, I like what he's done for the most part. I think he's gotten like an above satisfactory grade. But definitely, I think what gives me a good passing grade for him is just the way that he answered that one question about Sam Darnold earlier this week, where he basically said, I don't give a shit if this trade makes me look bad. I want Sam to succeed because he's a good guy and he deserves it, right? So, like, you know, do you expect that he'll be able to have more hits than misses in this draft up here?
The problem with Joe Douglas is that we don't know how much, say, Adam Gase had in personnel last year. We don't really know. The Jets, when they fired Gase finally, they changed their power structure. So now the general manager has power. The coach reports to him. So now their whole hierarchy's changed finally. So now we know who's accountable for what. That's the first thing. Yeah. But if you look at Joe Douglas's draft class last year, it's an incomplete because they were all hurt. Like, you know, Becton played well, you know, but then Mims came in, but he missed a lot of time. Like all these guys. And then you had a couple picks that didn't play at all, like Cameron Clark, the quarterback they drafted, which was a complete joke. So the draft class is an incomplete. His free agent class was awful. I mean, most of the guys he signed were bad, and the guys he's keeping this year aren't very good in theory. So it's like, all right, your first year as general manager, not really impressive. So this year he comes in, he signed some big names, but he had a lot of money to spend. Yeah. So he prioritized Carl Lawson and Corey Davis as his big splash moves. Okay. But he's got a ton of draft picks, man. He got so much draft compensation. He's supposed to be a draft guy. And that's where he's going to have to earn it. But right now, like, people love him. The only thing you got to give him credit for is the value he gets in trades. He got real good value for Jamal Adams, which shocked all of us. Yeah. I like the value in Sam Darnold. He got, you know, in theory at the time, got good value for Leonard Williams. So he got good value with that. He sticks to his guns. He has a good approach. He seems like he's competent. So it's kind of like you're almost like blind faith right now, kind of say, okay, now you have your own show to run. He's got a highly touted front office. He hired all his guys on 5-year contracts. So it's kind of prove it. Now it's like, listen, man, you have everything your way. This is like your dream scenario, your staff, your team, your power, everything. Now you're getting your quarterback. Show us what you got.
And so, like, this is one question that I want to ask everybody, because we did do a Twitter poll earlier asking, you know, who is the biggest threat to the Bills in the AFC East right now, to just, you know, get a feel of how everybody else thinks of it. And for the first 30 minutes of the poll, it's funny. The Jets didn't have a vote, and like, it's hard to not have a vote. And I'm not here to talk shit, but you know, it's hard to not get a vote on Twitter when, you know, and then one of my good buddies said it's the Jets and it's not close. And then he was the first to vote. So that bumped it up to 1% or so.
Yeah. I mean, we're like, this is a true reset, man. I mean, you have like a first-time head coach, a first-time offensive coordinator, a rookie quarterback. You're basically overhauling your entire roster. You have a lot of young guys playing, inexperienced guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you win 4, 5, 6 games this year, we'll probably be ecstatic. They only won 2 last year. But you look at the AFC East, and it's like the Patriots is just crazy. Like, I don't know how they afforded all those guys. I don't know what they did. The only thing Belichick did was overcome for all his bad drafting over the last few years. So he spent all that money to do that. But usually, genuinely, if that's any other team, we make fun of them, because that plan never works when you spend money like that. Yeah. And they double down on Cam Newton, which, you know, is interesting. So, and then if I'm the Bills, like, I'm excited because the Dolphins, they got rid of Fitzpatrick. That's probably, you know, the Dolphins with a quarterback that's kind of competent, I'd be more worried about, because I'm not really sold on Tua. So I guess you're going to say the Patriots based on just the experience of Cam Newton over Tua. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I don't like it's.
Yeah, I would say it seems like the Dolphins have a more well-rounded roster than the Patriots do. I think the Patriots' ceiling might be higher just because of Cam Newton's experience and Tua's in my opinion, lack of ability for the most part.
Yep.
I think his ceiling is like a Kyler Murray. And it's not just because they're both short quarterbacks. It's because they just look the same when they're out there, you know? So I go Patriots. I go Patriots and then Dolphins, but it's interchangeable for me. Kevin, what do you think?
It's tough for me to think that this mishmash of New England talent is going to play out. I mean, it's just, we've seen Miami works. Yeah. This Miami usually does this in years past. I mean, 2015, 2016, where they just go out and sign everybody under the sun, and it didn't work. Last year, they had a lot of success. You know, was that coaching? You know, what happened there in Miami? Can they follow it up? Didn't make the playoffs. They did falter against a backup Bills team and just demolished them into the second. I mean, in the game they needed. So we'll see what that determines. But it's challenging. Like it's interesting because I don't think there's as much of a gap as others might. I don't think the Jets are extraordinarily far behind, in my opinion, from those two rosters, depending on what they do with this draft capital.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And same with Miami almost too, because that's their big thing right now is they have all these picks too after that trade.
I say Miami with their draft capital, but I don't feel great about saying that. I could be New England. I wouldn't even be shocked if the Jets come above them. I really wouldn't. Like, I just think anything's possible when you have a rookie quarterback. He could suck or he could end up being really good. I mean, it's worth the flyer, Ty. And I think that's ultimately what happens here is, where do the Jets go? Does that Dolphins talent come together? It might not. And does all that New England signings, does that happen for them with Cam Newton at quarterback, who was a running quarterback and just wasn't very good?
Nope. See, I think the weird thing is I think Miami also was kind of high on Watson too. They were getting all that draft capital.
They were.
And they're like, you know what? We have all the pieces of the puzzle. He's our final piece to make a serious run. And then all this fell apart for them. And then you kind of wonder, what does New England do? Are they going to draft a quarterback? I mean, Cam Newton's like a short-term answer at best, year maybe? So it's like, do they draft somebody? Like, how do they handle it? And that's does Garoppolo get cut? Does Garoppolo go to the Patriots? Like, what? Just, like, man, our following's rough, man. We got crazy guys. But that's the whole thing. Like, the Patriots, do they stand pat here? What do the Dolphins do with the quarterback? Like, it's and you guys, I mean, it's like, and you guys are the class. The thing I like about the Bills, and I hate giving you guys credit, it drives me crazy, is that everybody bought into your program. Everybody loves Josh Allen, and all your guys are staying. There are a lot of guys stayed, they came back. You have that whole, like, the chemistry, the camaraderie, and they're all buying into the program. They're all playing for each other. And when you have that kind of chemistry, that goes a long way, man, and to keeping things going. So it's the Bills they're in a really good spot, man. The young team on the rise, and you have a quarterback that's leading everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wary to get too excited about it because we do see outlier. No, Rob, no, let's go Yankees. Let's keep that out of here. This is a football show. No Yankees talk.
Let's go Yankees is fine. Well,
okay,
I'm fine with that.
Okay, fine, Rob. It's fine.
2-1. That win. That's a win.
That's true. But we have seen outlier quarterback years before, and Josh Allen looks like it's not going to be an outlier year. But I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic heading into the season because, regressions probably do in one way or another. Whether it's more interceptions, less yards, something like that. But back to the Jets, since we only have you for 6 more minutes, it's not just the first pick at number 2 that you guys have in the first round, but after the Jamal Adams trade, you have, I believe, 23rd from Seattle coming back to you. So if, with that pick, since it's full rebuild mode, would you maybe want to trade back with that? Or is there anyone that you really think the Jets should be targeting with there?
See, this is like the great argument right now because the Jets have so many holes. We have no corners at all, man. We have a lot of young guys at corner. We all kind of assume that Richard Sherman was going to come here as like the veteran mentor to be there. But now it's probably, if that happens, it'll be after the draft. So you need a corner. You can probably go for another receiver. You need offensive linemen. So like a part of you says, you know what, if there's a guy you really want, I'm not opposed to trading up. Like go be aggressive and get like legitimate playmakers. If that's like, a great corner or whatever else, like I'm not like Jet fans always want to collect picks now. Like everyone's get more picks. I'm like, I want playmakers, man, like legitimate game breaking talent on this team. If Joe Douglas gets crazy aggressive and picks up a running back, great. Or a tight end or a receiver or a pass rusher or a corner, like get game breaking talent now because especially the way you handle free agency. And then the other problem you have is we need offensive linemen. So obviously you don't go offensive lineman first round, but is that the second round, third round? You double up, go back to back there. That's kind of where I'm fascinated to see how he handles this, man. Like last year he was all about trade backs. This year, like you almost want to see him be a little bit more aggressive, but I don't know what he's going to do. We have holes, man. We got plenty of holes.
Yeah, definitely plenty of holes. But I mean, at the same time, the receiving room for the Jets It actually looks solid. Like, it seems like, you know, seeing how Josh Allen came into the league with like Kelvin Benjamin and Zay Jones, you know, I wish that, you know, and then they built around him with all those receivers. It seems like Zach Wilson, presumably Zach Wilson, who, you know, you reminder, he says he's here. He'll be coming into a Jets team that's more poised for young quarterback success than
it's not Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne either.
It's not Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah. That's how you're going to spend your money when we saw deals like Sanders come through, John Brown come through, and others. Like, how would you not prefer John Brown or Emmanuel Sanders to the deals that those two signed? It just doesn't make any sense. But go New England in that category. That helps us in a division. That's how they spent their money. But the Jets are right there. I think they're talented enough. If Zach Wilson's good, they're talented enough to do something. If he struggles, Josh Allen struggled.
I mean, I think, like I said, it's the offensive line. Apparently, the LaFleur offense can be quick reads, get the ball out of his hand fast. I mean, the running back room is basically a mismatch of, you got Tevin Coleman, who's not the same Tevin Coleman, and a bunch of like unproven guys. You know, so the tight end position is a complete joke. I mean, we got Tyler Kroft. Maybe that'll help us. I don't know. He stays healthy and can catch some passes.
And Delshon Phillips. Don't you do Delshon Phillips like that?
Yeah. So it's like you hope, man. Like we're kind of hoping, and you don't want to have too much faith in Zach Wilson right away. Like, listen, we expect all these different things, but the wide receiver group is better than it's ever. I mean, I like Corey Davis. I like the signing. People said he spent too much money on. I like the signing. I think he's pretty good. I didn't want Kenny Galladay, not for that price. So I think it's better. Like Keelan Cole.
Yeah.
Keelan Cole, I like him too. And the thing is, like, Jamison Crowder is still very good. I'm surprised they're keeping him, especially at his price tag, but he's still good. Lions fans.
Man, who finishes with more wins, the Lions or the Jets? There's a question.
Depends if you like the coach. That's a good question. Probably the Lions.
Really? Because I think I would have more faith in Robert Saleh there. I feel like, I mean, like, obviously he's unproven as a head coach, but, you know, coming over from San Francisco, proven track record of winning. And even this last year, you know, you can point to the San Francisco defense and say, hey, they were, you know, they had injuries, they were without a lot of talent, and he elevated them a little bit. So
did you hear the Robert Saleh clip posted that I made last year with when he didn't know who Josh Allen was? That's got to be run back. If it's not for Tyson, it's going to be run back at least whatever they pay the Jets week 2, week 3, week 1. Week 1 if history repeats itself. His comment was like, I'm not aware of what Josh Allen's done or something. And
something
then
along those lines,
to play zone defense against him, and Josh Allen threw for like 500 yards on him.
He knew what Sam Darnold was, at least. That's good.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Tyson, I know we're running to the end here. I know you got to get out of here right at 5:20. So thanks for being here. For all our viewers who want to maybe get some more Jets insight, tell them where they can find your stuff.
Well, first of all, I always love talking to you guys. Definitely appreciate it. Let's Talk Jets Radio on YouTube. We do a bunch of live streams, same thing you guys are doing here. And then on Tuesday nights, we're on Blog Talk Radio. And it's just all Jets talk all the time. And now it's just with the Zach Wilson chaos. We're having a lot of fun, man. So hopefully we'll be up with you guys one day. Get back to the competitive levels of football.
Yeah, I mean, when the AFC East is good as a whole, then it's just going to be more entertaining for all of us.
Absolutely.
So couldn't agree with you more.
We'll have to get you on next month, too, to kind of recap your thoughts on everything.
After the draft.
Yeah, see you. Have to see you in May for sure.
I'm down. Let's do it.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks again, Tyson. I'll let you get out of here.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you, Ty.
Micah High, Jordan Boyer, can you catch it? Trade day is like a mask, you're not catching anything. Matt Milano making plays, we not scared of any team. Best in the AFC.